Hello everyone, I am Tessellating Hexagons, and debatably either first or second up in yesterday's slew of announcements, because we had three, and, Montenegro was listed first by Eurovision.tv, but technically, whether it was a leak or an official release or whatever, we actually got to hear the song from Ireland first, but then the video was published to Eurovision.tv after Montenegro, so the order has been all kinds of confusing, but I mean, I'm going to upload these videos back to back, so what difference does it really make? Hello, Ireland. I would say top of the morning, but I'm sure you're sick of people making that cliche when addressing you, so hi. So, the song for them this year is Brendan Murray with the song Dying to Try. Although, in my mind, I can't not associate it with that one episode of SpongeBob, which I'm just going to leave that reference at the door, but just know that's going through my mind every time I hear the title of the song. Anyway, as we more or less have come to expect from Ireland at this point, bearing in mind they've sent 3 Irish Gaelic songs to Eurovision in the course of history, and 2 of those were junior Eurovision entries. It's completely in English, and music and lyrics apparently by Jürgen Elofsson and James Newman, who is the brother of John Newman, apparently. Small world. Anyway, there's not all that much documentation on who wrote this song or the other two from yesterday's Fantastic Friday, if we could call it that, because, you know, Super Saturday, but it was a Friday. Yeah. Anyway, this is kind of an educated guess on my part as to who wrote the song, but this is all based on one article that I've seen. I could be wrong, but I could also be right, so hi. So what are my first impressions of this song then? Well, this is pleasant, isn't it? I admit, the first line of the song really does sound like Take a Leak, or at least it did in my mind when I first heard it for the very first time. And then the gap that he leaves between that and the second half of the same sentence, that kind of only reinforces it, but that might just be my mischievous brain playing tricks on me, because, I don't know, it made me smile. Anyway, that was just a random thing, but be that as it may, this is a delightfully mature entry from Ireland. That's not to say that we can't expect this from them by any means, since their 2015 entry was mature enough in hindsight. I suppose this song feels like an extension of that, perhaps an evolution, if you will. It's distinctly not playing with numbers, but it's no surprise that both entries came from the same country. Now, let's have a slightly more detailed look at what this song does right, at least in my opinion. Well, first of all, I do really like the instrumentation of this one. The repeated synth hook coupled with the piano, the pizzicato string stuff, it lends the song an extra dimension of, well, there isn't really a word for it in English. I suppose it's what they call saudade in Portuguese, or heraith in Welsh. It's a kind of, oversimplifying it, it's kind of a nostalgic longing for something that either never existed or is completely unattainable. Like I said, huge oversimplification of the word, but we don't really have a word for it in English. But anyway, that's a rough idea of what this song feels like, at least to me. For that matter, it's already a very atmospheric piece. I know I've used that word to death this season, but I mean, we've had a lot of songs that it applies to, so just bear with me. Brendan's delivery and the music itself, it all works together to mentally transport the listener right into the middle of the narrative of the song, and that makes it all easier to identify with it, really, and to sympathise with it, and basically feel like you're a part of everything that's going on. That makes it even easier to like, in my opinion. For that matter, I think Brendan is the perfect candidate to deliver a song like this. He fits right in with the image that the song strives for, and I think his voice helps with its authenticity as well. I know I've seen some people kind of insulting his voice, or at the very least saying, like, less than encouraging things like, or at the very least people saying, oh, he sings like a girl. So? There have been some people who have been a bit less pleasant about it as well, who've been insulting it, and that's got nothing to do with my opinion here. He sounds like he believes in the song, and I recognise that in his tone, so truly, we've got a rather spellbinding package from Ireland this year. And one last point. Remember that synth hook that I mentioned right at the start of this particular section of the review? Of course you do, it's that memorable. Much like Just's heartbeat noise last year and Australia's Don't Come Easy hook this year, it's the song's identifying piece. It's a good first thing to remember. It's a good springboard into remembering how the rest of the song goes if you're trying to recap it in your head. So, yeah, I think that's a sign of a job well done, really. But why might someone not necessarily be quite so keen on this song, then? Well, depending on your tastes, and bearing in mind the stereotypes and bandwagons that people have created about this year's contest, one potential point of contention is the relatively slow tempo of this one. Hell, the song is so slow-paced that there's actually only time for one verse, and then maybe 2 repeats of the refrain in the full 3 minutes of the song. I don't think that's too bad of a thing, personally, but some people might object to how the structure is forcefully dictated by the speed and length of the song. I will say, though, that Ireland's entry 10 years ago, They Can't Stop the Spring by Dervish, that had a similar structure where it was kind of slow, it had a verse and then the chorus 3 times, and that fared pretty badly. As I recall, it got 5 points and came last, but it was in the final, so there's that. Then again, this song this year sounds much more current now than that did then, so who knows, maybe it's just a coincidence that they have a roughly similar structure. It is absolutely a coincidence. One other thing, and I know it's a bit controversial to bring this up since I already said that I was over it earlier this year, but in this song, the key change feels kind of really forced in my opinion. It just kind of comes out of nowhere and just sort of sits down in the song like, here I am, I've changed the key, what are you going to do about it? Well, nothing, song, you're a song. Sure, it fits in well enough, and it doesn't ruin the song by any means, but I think it would sound better without it personally, but then again, I've not heard the song without it, so I can't say for certain. It's just a thought, just a thought. Clearly, whoever wrote the song doesn't agree with me on whether or not it should be there, but whatever. I'm not a fan of that bit personally, but it doesn't ruin the song, so it's okay. You do you, Ireland, you do you. Now, the good old points out of 10 department. For me, personally, I think this one gets an 8. I do like it. This is a decent, competent, mature offering from the Emerald Isle. I enjoy the arrangement, I enjoy the story, I enjoy the presentation of it. It's just not something I'd go out of my way to listen to on a regular basis, and that's why it's not higher on my personal scale, that's all. It's enjoyable, it's just not in perfect line with my own personal usual tastes, and that's absolutely not the song's fault, that's just me. So I would expect that to be reflected in its technical score out of 10, and it does. 9. It's one of those songs where I can't really find anything academically wrong about it beyond just, oh, well, I guess it only reinforces the negative stereotypes about the average tempo of this year's songs, and to the point that this song only has one verse. I don't know why I did all that with my teeth closed, but hey, that's just how you know I'm speaking in character as hypothetical me. Anyway, the whole thing of it being a bit slow, that in itself isn't bad. It's a stylistic choice. I think it works with the song, and if they were to speed it up, it would definitely sound wrong. Yeah, it's a good grown-up song for Ireland. It just might not appeal to everyone simply by weight of comparison to other downbeat entries this year. The community moves in mysterious ways these days. But how does the song stack up to Sun? Light. Well, I'm not going to bother trying to ham up the drama with this decision any further. I'm giving this one to Brendan. Nicky's song last year was a long time coming, given his seemingly ever-present role as spokesperson for Ireland's votes, and yeah, it was a fun enough song, but the studio version sounded incredibly low budget. Or at the very least, through headphones, the percussion sounded so plastic and synthetic. I mean, there's nothing wrong with synthesized drum loops by any means, but it sounded so fake. I'm still not over that. I mean, the song sounded okay on the whole, but that bothered me a bit, and his live performances were consistently disappointing. Dying to Try, meanwhile, feels like it's a much, much more serious attempt at the contest. Like, it's written more with the mentality of, okay, let's send a real song to Eurovision, let's see what we can do, as opposed to, oh, I'm doing Eurovision? Oh, right, I'll see what I can throw together tomorrow then. I anticipate an enviable performance from Brendan on the night, if nothing else. I'm not saying Sunlight was written hastily, by the way, it's just, this song feels like it is a song that is a song. Those were not words, they were words, they just didn't mean anything. Moving on, can we expect to see Ireland in the final? Will his vocals and the song's atmosphere be enough for him to qualify? Well, I will say that this song is Ireland's best shot at the final in years. That I make no moves to dispute. As for whether that means it actually will qualify, I cannot guarantee at all. I'd imagine that the juries will be rather kind to this one, because he's got a good voice and he knows how to use it. Particularly if his performance is as engaging as the music video sets it up to be, of course. But the public votes, I can't quite put a finger on how they're going to do it. They might like it, they might be apathetic, and they might be sick of all the ballads at that point. Who knows? I would joke that they've got their work cut out for them, because they're in a semi-final that doesn't have the UK voting in it, but, I mean, please. Ireland is a strong, independent nation that doesn't need neighbour voting to do well when they've got a song like this. So, let's just see what happens in May then. So I will say, good luck Ireland, and I'll be rather curious to see where you end up with this, because maybe we'll see you in the final for the first time in years. Good luck, and we'll see you in Kiev.